Hello and welcome to the second part of our recent trip to China. In this one, join us as we take a short side trip to the city of Tianjin. Tianjin is a direct administered municipality in northern China on the shore of the Bohai Sea. It is considered one of the 9 national central cities with a total population of around 14 million at the time of this video. Tianjin is classified as the largest type of port city, a large port megacity, because of its large urban population and port traffic volume. It stands as the world's 29th largest metropolitan area, and it is the largest coastal city in northern China and has been called Beijing's gateway to the world. So join us as we check out a video game competition in a soccer stadium, or football, as the rest of the world calls it. Dine with us as our hosts take us to one of the best meals I've ever had. Come aboard with us as we cruise along the Hai and the Xingkai rivers, enjoying one of the most stunning light shows you're ever likely to see. And then join us for an exquisite dim sum breakfast before we begin our journey back to Beijing. Well, our journey began fairly early in the morning with a subway trip to the Chaoyang railway station. There we hopped on a high-speed bullet train for the 1.5-hour ride from Beijing to Tianjin. Upon arrival, we checked into our hotel, the Courtyard by Marriott. The Courtyard was a beautiful hotel, clean and with enormous rooms. We headed out to find what we could find, and what we found were crowds of people because of the upcoming holiday. In addition to being one of the busiest ports in the world, Tianjin is also a tourist city with lots to offer. Today, we wandered into the soccer stadium to find a video game contest. We didn't stay long because I really didn't see the point or the excitement of the large crowd of people watching a screen that never showed what the players were actually doing. Regardless, it was much more interesting outside, and we wandered about the stadium and the streets around it, looking over the quirky little shops like the Magic Crystal, and some interesting restaurants. Here's a nice looking steakhouse that serves coffee, beer, and dinner next to the Double Happy Steakhouse and Paradise, a private school for teenagers. And other interesting restaurants and shops. The streets in this area are called the 5 Great Avenues of Tianjin and contain everything a growing boy needs, from candied haw to music and a beer garden. And the now ubiquitous McDonald's and KFC, 2 of the United States' greatest exports. I was told if I stood there and pointed toward that sign, it claimed that I would lose weight and be skinnier the next time I came back. Well, it was worth a shot. Most of the streets in this area were closed off to traffic with the exception of these horse-drawn carriages, which were doing a bang-up business. We continued along, finding little alleyways and shortcuts off the beaten path, with still more restaurants and stalls selling a variety of things. I don't know if this could be called cosplay, but those were pretty interesting outfits. Then our driver picked us up, and it was a short ride to dinner. If you saw my earlier video, then this must be the cousin to that big old crab and dandong. After having a look at some of which might become our dinner, we headed up to our private room, which is a very common sort of thing in China, and sat down at which was instantly recognizable as a hot pot dinner. This was an early version of the table, and then the cornucopia started. Shrimp still dancing. Beautiful salmon sashimi. Beef, pork, more beef, more pork. And this very interesting goddess with a dress made of beef. Condiments for the hot pot. And close-ups of that beautifully marbled beef and pork. Our hot pots came out, the induction heaters were turned on, and depending on what you chose as a seasoning, I chose spicy, the soup base began to be built. One of the waitresses came by and dropped a chunk of abalone in each pot, and it was time to start dipping and dining. I started with a piece of the goddess's dress. More food continued to show up. What was this? Well, it was our friend, the king crab that you saw earlier, one of the signature dishes of this particular restaurant. Rolled up flat strips of tofu. Someone decided we needed another stack of beef, which was served with these little savory pastries. And lastly, a variety of noodles came out to cook in the broth that you had built up. And now it was time for the highlight of the evening, our cruise on the High River. Our driver dropped us off nearby, and we proceeded to walk down the street. And eventually crossed over to the river. From the riverside, you start to get a hint of what you are in store for. So standing there gaping at the neon-drenched boats on the river and giant buses dressed up like Tron light cycles, it was time to step on board our cruise ship and to truly be amazed. I stayed inside for maybe 2 minutes just to see what it was like. Checked out our captain to make sure he was doing a good job. He seemed to be. And then headed out on deck where I could get some good visuals. Most of our cruising would be on the High River, but we did turn around and come back a little way up the Xinkai River. One of the neatest things as we cruised along was passing under the many bridges that span the rivers. On some of the bridges, people would gather and watch the boats, ours included, pass beneath them, yelling, waving, and having a good time. So settle in and enjoy with me one of the most amazing light shows that I've ever seen. Clock Tower and the upcoming bridge mark an area called the Old Italian Town. Since its opening, Tianjin has been a place with special enclaves for the many different merchants that showed up from around the world to trade. This beautiful bridge is called the Italian Bridge. And as we approached one of the newer parts of the city, the buildings themselves came alive with fantastical multimedia light shows of their own. Eventually, we came to a spot in the river where it was time to literally turn around and go back. And although it was the same river and the same territory we had passed through prior, it seemed different. And eventually, we passed where we had set off from and headed a short way up the Xingkai River. And here, built on one of the bridges crossing the Xingkai River, is the Tianjin Eye, a giant Ferris wheel that takes 35 minutes to make one rotation. After that, we returned to our dock and disembarked. From our river cruise, we just cruised around the streets of Tianjin for a while, enjoying the nightlife scene and the hustle and bustle of thousands of people on the street. It was back to the courtyard and time for bed. Well, the next morning, it was time to go back to Beijing. But before we did that, we would enjoy a beautiful dim sum breakfast. This beautiful restaurant is located in a 5-star Tianjin hotel. And served up a delicious dim sum meal. We all started with a bit of congee, rice porridge with bits of 1,000-year-old eggs, Chinese broccoli, some nice chewy beef intestines, phoenix feet, also known as chicken feet, some very delicious shumai, garlic pork ribs, and some very tasty custard buns. Some very interesting taro puffs resembling swans. And it was time to say goodbye to our friends who hosted us on this very short trip and make the short drive back to Beijing to get ready for another adventure. Well, thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be kept up to date with new videos as they drop. Check out my much neglected website, tomsmultiinterest.com, and stay tuned for our next China video, Beijing, Peking Duck, and the Blue Note Blues Club. If you have the time and the inclination, please check out some of our other videos. And as always, safe and happy travels from T's Cruise and Travel Muse.